It's the middle of the night, and your eyes just snapped open for no reason. The room is dark, the house is silent, and before your brain even processes a single thought, your heart is already pounding. You haven't seen anything, you haven't heard anything, but every muscle in your body is suddenly ready to run. Why does that happen? You're safe, you're in your bed. There's a locked door and a phone with a flashlight 3 feet away. And yet some ancient part of your brain refuses to believe you're safe at all. That reaction wasn't installed by a scary movie or a bad dream. It's 300,000 years old. It belonged to your ancestors long before it belonged to you. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why your body still reacts like there's a predator in the room, even when you're alone in an apartment in the middle of a city. Let's start with the fear that shaped almost every other fear that came after it. Darkness. Not darkness as in a dim room. Darkness as in total, absolute, can't see your own hand kind of darkness. For most of human history, when the sun went down, your vision became almost useless, while the predators hunting you could still see, smell, and hear you perfectly. Cave lions, hyenas, leopards, they were built for the night. You weren't. So the moment light disappeared, your ancestors went from being a capable, tool-using animal to being nearly blind prey. Researchers studying fear responses have found that humans show a measurable spike in cortisol, the stress hormone. The instant light drops below a certain threshold, even in completely controlled, safe environments. Your body doesn't wait for evidence of danger. It assumes danger the second it can't see clearly. That's a survival setting that kept your bloodline alive long enough to reach you. And it explains that tiny flicker of unease walking through a dark parking lot, or the urge to turn on a light before you'll fully relax in an unfamiliar room. You're not imagining it. You're running software that's hundreds of thousands of years old. But darkness alone wasn't the worst of it. Because here's where it gets stranger. The fear that ancient humans feared even more than predators wasn't about being eaten. It was about being alone. Around 50,000 years ago, separation from the group wasn't an inconvenience. It was close to a death sentence. A single human with no weapons, no claws, and mediocre night vision had almost no chance of surviving alone in open land. Survival required the tribe. Food sharing, defense, child rearing, all of it depended on staying connected to a group of people who would notice if you were missing and come looking for you. So evolution did something brutal and brilliant at the same time. It made social rejection feel like physical pain. Psychologist Kipling Williams ran experiments where participants were excluded from a simple ball-tossing game by other players. Brain scans showed activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, the exact same region that lights up when someone experiences physical injury. Being left out doesn't just feel bad, your brain processes it the same way it processes a wound. That's why a text left on read can spiral your thoughts for hours, why getting unfollowed or ignored in a group chat hits so much harder than it logically should. You're not being dramatic, you're running an alarm system built for a world where exclusion genuinely meant you might not survive the season. Now here's where this video takes a turn, because there's a third fear hiding underneath the first two, and it's the one that explains almost everything else you feel today. The fear of the unknown itself. Not snakes specifically, not spiders specifically, not the dark specifically. The category. Anything ambiguous, anything your brain can't immediately classify as safe or dangerous. Psychologists Arnie Oman and Susan Minecka showed that humans and primates learn to fear snakes and spiders almost instantly, sometimes after seeing just one frightening reaction from someone else, while fear of modern dangers like electrical outlets or speeding cars has to be taught slowly, because those threats are too new for evolution to have prepared us for them. Anthropologist Lynn Isbell has argued that snakes specifically shaped primate vision itself, that our unusually sharp eyesight for detecting subtle shapes on the ground evolved largely as an early warning system against a threat that had been killing our ancestors for tens of millions of years. Your brain isn't just afraid of the snake, it's afraid of not knowing what's in the grass before you step into it. That single mechanism, the dread of the unclassified, the unexplained, the thing you can't quite identify, is still running constantly underneath your daily life. It's why an unexpected noise in your house at night is somehow scarier than a noise you can immediately explain. It's why a stranger's silence feels more unsettling than a stranger's hostility. Uncertainty itself is the threat, not the outcome. So let's put all three of these together and walk through what a single night actually felt like for someone living 100,000 years ago. The fire is burning low. You add another branch, watching the flames because you know exactly what happens if it goes out completely. Somewhere beyond the firelight, something moves through the grass, and you can't tell what it is, and that not knowing is worse than seeing it clearly would be. You glance around the circle of sleeping bodies near you, counting without meaning to, making sure everyone who should be there is there. Because if someone wandered off, the odds of them surviving the night dropped sharply, and so did the odds of the group surviving without them. Every sense you have is quietly working overtime, listening for footsteps, watching shapes at the edge of the light, feeling for the warmth of bodies near you that confirm you are not alone out here. This wasn't paranoia. This was Tuesday. This was every single night, for thousands of generations in a row, until it stopped being a conscious thought and became something coded directly into your nervous system. And this is exactly why, when you're lying awake at 3 in the morning in a perfectly secure, locked, modern home, some ancient part of your brain still runs the same checklist. Is it dark? Am I alone? Do I know what that sound was? 3 boxes, and if even one of them comes back unclear, your body floods with the same chemicals that once kept a small group of humans alive against odds that should have wiped them out completely. Think about how much of modern life is quietly built around managing these exact 3 fears. Streetlights exist because we never stopped fearing the dark. Social media exists, at least in part, because the dopamine hit of being seen and included taps directly into a system built to detect belonging. True crime podcasts, horror movies, ghost stories around a fire, they're not random entertainment choices. They're modern versions of the same alertness your ancestors needed to survive. Except now, there's no real danger, just the feeling of danger, which your brain still finds strangely satisfying to rehearse. Even the habit of checking your phone the second you're alone in a quiet room is, in a strange way, a modern echo of glancing around the fire to make sure your people are still close. You're not broken. You're not overly anxious. You're 100,000 years of survival instinct living inside a body that technology outpaced a long time ago. Your ancestors who feared the dark a little too much, who clung a little too hard to their group, who jumped a little too fast at the unexplained sound in the grass, those were the ones who lived long enough to have children. The relaxed ones, the ones who shrugged off the unknown and wandered too far from the fire, simply didn't get the chance to pass anything down. So every time your heart races over nothing, every time a quiet house feels too quiet, every time you feel a flicker of dread before you can even explain why, that's not weakness. That's an unbroken chain of survivors, stretching back further than written history, still quietly running the same alarm system that kept every single one of them alive long enough for you to exist at all.